Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and it is officially getting into the late summer fall region where you're getting that sick season coming in that we get every single year. Uh, so today we're going over the convection outlook that's going on through today through parts of Minnesota, going into a corner of Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota. So we have that convection outlook right there with the slight risk and then the marginal risk on the outside. So we're going to run into some problems with this low pressure system pushing in. Got a couple of outflow boundary lines here with a cold front. These outflow boundaries eventually later on in the system will merge, and at least until then, there is once that does happen and the cap actually breaks, which the cap is expected to break later on through the system, later on throughout the day into the afternoon, and then when that does happen, there is a small risk of some brief spin-up tornadoes early in the system, and then eventually, once these outflows will come and they will merge and cross, then it'll dissipate the tornado threat a little bit. But there still is some damaging wind threats and hail threats through all of this region here, and I will show you that on the National Weather Service's site here in a second. But I wanted to go over kind of the process of what's going to go on today across most of this region here, where you're going to have about 50 knot wind shear that's coming in with some southwesterlies that are going to be pushing in here as well. Low pressure systems are going to be moving in here, cooler air aloft. So there's a lot of variables here that can get some supercells developing along this line as it continues on during the day. Heavy downpours are probably going to be one of the threats as well. Lightning and thunder is probably going to be attributed with this as well. All of those risks are factors today. The tornado threat is a lower end tornado threat, but it isn't zero. So if there is going to be any tornadoes in this region, the National Weather Service anticipates that they're going to be a little bit earlier on in the system as it continues into this marginal and slight severe convection outlook. And they're probably going to be a little bit more on the front end of the line of storms that's coming across here, which is usually why they don't last as long. If they're towards the front of the squall line, then they don't typically last too long, and they're pretty small in size. But still, even a small tornado can do damage to your home and cause injury, so please be careful today. All right, we're going to take a look at our weather situation here. This is the site from Storm Prediction Center. You can see that green patch right there, and that is the marginal tornado risk that is in this area. Like I said, it is low, but it isn't zero. And these instrumentations that are going to be on the site are probably not going to be updated right now because we're still early in the day. But you are going to get some daytime heating throughout this region, as well as dew points in the 60s. And which you can already see in some of these areas, it's already reaching the 50s to the 60s in some of these areas. So later on in the day, that daytime heating is going to kick up a little bit more moisture that's going there, and that is going to make the atmosphere just a little bit more unstable. So later on, it seems like there's a cap that is holding it, at least, you know what I mean, to that region where it's getting to, at least to about here. And then once it starts to get a little bit further east with the southwesterlies blowing in, the dew points and the heating coming up higher, those caps are going to break from north to south along the line. So that's just going to be doot doot doot, like Morse code, just going down to the south, going across, you know, the country here, right here in the spot where that tornado risk is at. And you know, so that's kind of how that's going to roll through. So Cape levels, not really there yet, but these will be building throughout the day. But you can already see the wind shear that's kicking up here. Already getting 50 knot wind shear in these areas. So it is going to be a windy day. So make sure you batten down the hatches and strap down your property and things like that to prepare for a little bit of high winds today with this system as well. Surface vortice really isn't there yet. But we're probably going to have some spots in these areas that are going to pop up with surface vortice. Supercell composite here got a little bit of a build here in Minnesota, but that will, you know, you'll see that increase a little bit throughout this line of storms throughout the day. You'll probably see this popping up a little bit higher in areas. Tornado parameter isn't there yet, so I mean, you know what I mean? If you were to check these indices later on as this storm is rolling into your area, then you would see the activity is a lot different. Oh, excuse me. So this is that categorical look today, and that is that tornado risk threat that's right there. Wind is the slight risk, 15%, and then you have that 5% risk around that on the outside. So that is definitely an area of high wind potential in these areas today. And hail, of course, 15% chance of hail in that slight area right there. So, I mean, we're getting a lot of that heating and a lot of that moisture going up aloft. Then you get that, crystallization and some of those cloud formations, and that's going to cause some hail to rain down on you. All right, I don't have the HRR model today because it's only got a few slides, but I'm not going to, and the sounding data is probably not going to be as accurate with the NAM. So I'm going to go through the process of what it's going to look like as it's continuing into your area. This is just a couple slides before it starts to formate, to form along this line right here. So you'll see this connecting, and it's going to cause a line of storms that's going to go down through the country. There it is. See these little isolated cells popping up, those southwesterlies kicking in, and you got some straight edge and some notching that's in here. And this is about that time or that period when you're getting that mild tornado threat that's going to be happening in here. And see how nice and straight that is, but we still got some notching in there. So you're getting some wind that is crossing into that area. And then these little isolated cells are popping up. So this is that supercell composite potential where you're getting these, let me try to go to this one, maybe you can see it a little bit better. Yeah, so you can see these little tiny cells popping up here. And I mean, these are darker green areas, so they're not very big. Excuse me, guys, I've had a little bit of a cold. I'm sorry about that. And so when with these little isolated cells kind of popping up, then you can kind of see them. Those are usually the dangerous ones that you got to kind of have to worry about because there is some supercell potential in formation with that. All right, so right along that squall line, this is about that. Now, see how tiny and pinched that is? That's usually when you get your early on tornado threat. And and even by looking at this, it's a small threat, but let's just look ahead of that line and see what the sounding data looks like. We'll just get one slide. So the NAM always looks worse than the HRR model. It looks like it's going to be freaking terrible, but it's not. You know what I mean? So, but it does show the hail potential. There is some hail potential in there. There is some tornado potential with that as well, but it's a marginal tornado risk, even on the NAM. So that shows you right there, this is a low-end tornado threat, but it isn't impossible to have a tornado or two spin up briefly especially through Nebraska, going on the southern end of this line. And yeah, Nebraska, and then probably a little bit of that corner of Iowa there. Briefly, but it won't last long because it'll probably be moving up and out of here about 40 to 50 miles an hour. This line's going to continue on, and then it is eventually going to break up and dissipate as that low pressure system moves out. All right. So looking at that, let's look at a couple of other things here, and you can see that wind that's already pouring into that area right there. You can see all those winds that's going in there from the southwesterlies that are moving in. We got that. We also have this low pressure system that's right here on the coast. It doesn't look too bad right now, but it does have a higher chance of formation. So formation within 48 hours, 70% chance. 5 days, 70% chance. It's got a high probability of formation, and it's right along our coast right there. I do think that when the National Hurricane Center does roll this out, I do think that it's going to make that curve going back out to the Atlantic. But even so, in South Carolina, North Carolina, on the coastline, the coastal areas, it's still going to cause some problems for you because it'll be building. You'll get some rain from this. Some high surf, some riptides, things like that are all going to be threats in these areas, as well as some winds that could be attributed with this as well. So please be safe if you're going to be out by the beach or on the water or anything like that. Not really a great idea. So please be safe with that going on. We're looking at this low pressure system that is moving into the coastal areas here. You can already see those flood risks that are popping out there. A lot of rain attributed with that. This is a sub-severe system relatively, but there are some winds to it, some heavy downpours, and definitely some surf worries on the coast here. So same thing. Definitely not a great time of year to be out in the water. We also have two other low pressure systems that are moving across from Africa across the Atlantic. So the National Hurricane Center is going to be watching those for development in the next coming days to see exactly what's going to happen with those. So I'll have to keep you guys updated as new updates kind of develop. All right, so this gives you a little bit of look of what is going on with the weather situation today. Tomorrow is looking good as far as the convection outlook, so it doesn't look like we have any severe weather going tomorrow. Some rains in some periods, which I can show you. Tomorrow's convection outlook here, and this is for the day 2. So this is, I don't know why they haven't updated this. A little bit of storms. They did say that a little bit of storms have a chance of developing along the eastern coast. You know what I mean? Mildly, thunderstorms, just lightning, thunder, and some maybe some heavy downpours. Very small hail threat possibly, but I really doubt it. All right, but anyways, going into day 2, just general thunder. So that's going to dissipate. It might be, it might have some lingering showers and some lingering rains going into the northeast and across Lake Superior and the Great Lakes region. So, and then the rest of the country, just scattered showers and kind of, little leftover rains, but nothing very serious is what we're looking at the possibility of, just nothing. And it just kind of continues on, especially with these tropical systems. It just, makes for a lot of, precipitation this time of year. So, anyways, it's a brief update on what is going on. So definitely, if you're in this region today, just be weather aware. Listen to your warnings and try to keep your family safe. Have a plan in place just in case, anything does forbid happen. Alrighty, so I hope everybody stays safe and enjoy your day. Thank you very much for watching.